Just time for a quick recap of the week. If you've been here in New York, it has been dominated by the UN General Assembly, the annual event where delegates come from all over the world to fuck up this city's traffic. Almost every world leader has been here, but no one has had a bigger impact than Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Just this morning, he gave a sold-out speech at Madison Square Garden that featured everything from dance numbers to a live onstage painter creating a speed portrait of him. And I've got to say, Modi, classic out-of-towner move. Comes to New York, stays a few days and leaves with a slapdash caricature done in the Times Square area. You're a cliché, Modi. You're a cliché. But perhaps Modi's crowning glory during the trip was his appearance at last night's Global Citizen Concert in Central Park. It wasn't that he gave a great speech. It's that he had one hell of a finish.
Thank you once again for having me. Thanks in particular to Hugh Jackman. God bless you. May the force be with you.
What? Wow. That is a power move right there. Standing next to Wolverine and throwing out Star Wars quotes. Bear in mind, this guy was banned from entering the United States up until just 4 months ago for his role in the Gujarat riots. That's quite a turnaround for him. And let me say this to all other world leaders. This is the new bar. Do not turn up to this city again unless you are with an A-list movie star and throwing out quotes from films that they were definitely not in. For instance, Robert Mugabe is not welcome here unless he's standing next to Billy Crystal shouting "to infinity and beyond" for no reason whatsoever. And I do not want to see Angela Merkel set foot on American soil unless she is with Vin Diesel and screaming, "I will have what she is having. I will have what she is having." Moving on. In much less fun news, it was another difficult week in Ferguson, Missouri, where the protests over a tragic police shooting are now in their 7th week. Much of the anger is currently being focused on Police Chief Tom Jackson. Well, this week, he went on a PR offensive, with the emphasis on offensive. First, he issued a business casual apology video, and then he did an interview about it that went wrong within just 2 questions.
You issued an apology video today.
I did.
Why did it take so long for that to happen?
Well, there's been so much going on.
Oh, that is not a good answer. Look, it has been busy. You know, football season's back. There was the Ninja Turtles reboot. Crazy line for the new iPhone. Just a lot going on. In an inexplicable move, he then decided to do this.
Chief Tom Jackson spoke to demonstrators. They want criminal charges after last month's shooting of Michael Brown. When Jackson started to march with them, scuffles broke out.
Yeah, of course they did. What was he thinking trying to march with them? Oh, wow, big turnout, everyone. What are we protesting? Well, for one, you arsehole. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, why on earth didn't the Ferguson Police Department just get a PR expert to help them through all this? Well, they did. There's just one problem.
And we're learning more tonight about the man overseeing public relations for Ferguson after the Michael Brown shooting. According to our partners at the Post-Dispatch, 32-year-old Devin Sean James once shot and killed an unarmed man.
What the fuck, Ferguson? How hard can it be to find a PR expert who has not done the exact thing that you are hiring a PR expert to deal with? I mean, let's just say you have 2 applicants in front of you. One of them shot someone, and the other one is a potato. I don't care how qualified the other guy is, you have to hire the potato. Plus, if things don't work out, you have a potato. And finally this week, the world said goodbye to Afghanistan President Hamid Karzai, the man that America has trusted with overseeing the roughly $100 billion in aid that we have poured into that country over the past 12 years. Karzai used his farewell speech to thank everyone. Almost everyone.
Karzai thanked 8 other countries by name for helping Afghanistan rebuild. He failed to mention the United States.
Whoa! Whoa there, Karzai. Was this an Academy Award situation where you just ran out of time? Because I didn't hear any music playing you off there. Oh, I'd like to thank China, Germany, India, Iran. You guys are the greatest. Couldn't have done it without you. Oh, God. I'd like to thank my whole team at ICM, my publicist, Leslie Dart. I'm king of the world. That's it. Thank you very much. Oh, shit. And America. And America. Did we go to commercial? Fuck. I'll write him a note. I'll write him a note. It's fine. To be fair, Karzai did mention us during his speech, just not in a particularly flattering way.
In his farewell speech, the Afghan leader warned hundreds of staff and cabinet members not to trust the U.S. government. He called the American mission there a betrayal, saying the United States, quote, did not want peace.
Oh, excuse me, Karzai? I thought we were going to go our separate ways like adults, specifically polite, but with an inner hate that will eventually devour us alive. But if you want to go out with backstabbing and low blows, that is no problem. For instance, your brother Qayyum apparently owns a restaurant in Baltimore. You insult us, guess what? We're going to read some of his bad Yelp reviews on national television. For example, Amanda E noted that Shornakod included a number of other beans, not that it mattered since it was way over-soaked in the cilantro dressing. Boom, Karzai! Oh, you want a little more? You want more? Fine. Ashu M found the food there overrated, bland, and like it was out of a college student's first effort in the kitchen with spices. Ugh! Right? If you ever show your face back in America, Karzai, it better be with a peace offering, and a good one. I'm talking you standing next to Ryan Gosling, shouting, "Show me the money!" And now, this.
And now, words newscasters coyly refuse to say.
George was popping the tequilas. Next thing you know, the A word is flying.
The A word.
The B word is out there.
The B word.
He called her the C word.
The C word. The D word.
The E word, excommunicated.
The F word.
The G word.
I want to see a president that doesn't just say the H word.
The I word. The J word.
The K word.
The L word. The M word.
The N word. The N word.
The N word. As in N-word mountain.
The O word. The P word.
The Q word.
Now we're talking about the R word.
The R word.
The S word.
The T word. It's the old U word.
What's the V word? Visibility.
The W word.
All words that start with X.
The Y word.
The so-called Z word.
Moving on. Our main story tonight, drones. They're the third most annoying thing in the sky after mosquitoes and plastic bags caught in the breeze. They are not gorgeous, weird kid from American Beauty. They're trash, and they kill sea turtles. You've got turtle blood on your hands. But all of a sudden, drones are everywhere. We even use them to shoot romantic wedding videos. And what could possibly go wrong with that? He's fine. He's probably fine. I don't know if he's fine. It's funny whether he's fine or not. But look, overseas, drones are a slightly more serious matter. For instance, this week, we reportedly launched deadly drone strikes in both Waziristan and Yemen. You probably didn't hear about them on the news unless you were watching this.
The U.S. has carried out another drone attack in Pakistan's restive tribal areas, killing at least 8 people.
That's the only footage reporting either strike that we could find, and it's from the Iranian government's English-language TV station. That channel is buried deep in your cable package. I think it's actually somewhere between C-SPAN Junior and Can, the Kirstie Alley network. But there is something strange about the fact that we launched deadly drone strikes in 2 sovereign nations that almost no one here heard about. But then again, why would it make the news? We use drones all the time. Hard numbers are very difficult to come by for reasons that we'll get into, but by one estimate, during the Obama administration, we've launched 8 times the number of drone strikes than we did under his predecessor. And while they've declined a bit recently, drone strikes will be as much a characteristic of the Obama presidency as Obamacare or receiving racist email forwards from distant relatives. And it's easy to see why drones are so popular. They cost less than manned planes and they kill a lot of terrorists. Their slogan should really be appealingly cheap and incredibly deadly, but unfortunately that's already been taken by Hardee's. And they're not just popular with the White House, surveys consistently show a majority of Americans approve of our use of drone strikes to fight extremists abroad. In fact, we're so comfortable with them, nobody blinked an eye when the president said this.
The Jonas brothers are here. They're out there somewhere. Sasha and Malia are huge fans, but boys don't get any ideas. I have 2 words for you: predator drones. You will never see it coming.
You'll lie there, your aorta's riddled with shrapnel fired from the sky, gurgling your last blood-soaked breath. It's funny because it's possible. I could do that. That's something I could do. But while our drone program is widely accepted, we really know relatively little about it. We spent a lot of time this week trying to find some concrete answers to basic questions, and it's surprisingly difficult. For instance, how do we decide when to use a drone strike? Now, on the surface, the Obama administration's answer seems straightforward.
We only take these kinds of actions when there's an imminent threat, when capture is not feasible, and when we are confident that we're doing so in a way that's consistent with federal and international law.
OK, that sounds reassuring until you look closer at it, because our rules for drone strikes are a little like Harvey Keitel's balls. We've all seen them in The Piano, Bad Lieutenant, or on Snapchat, and from a distance, you think, well, I understand the contours of those. But if you were to really examine them, you discover that they're actually lost in a haze of fuzziness and grey areas. Much like the rules for our drone strikes. As Eric Holder just said, drone strikes are justified if you can show an imminent threat. Now, that sounds clear. There's not much of a linguistic loophole there, unless you make one.
NBC News has obtained this confidential 16-page Justice Department memo. It says an imminent threat does not require the United States to have clear evidence that a specific attack on U.S. persons and interests will take place in the immediate future.
But an imminent threat does have to take place in the immediate future, because that's what the fucking word imminent means. When someone says, I'm going to have a baby imminently, it doesn't mean I may or may not have a baby at some point in the future. It means, get your fucking car keys, my water just broke. And it turns out imminent isn't the only word with a surprisingly fluid definition when it comes to drone strikes. What defines a civilian when it comes to civilian casualties has also allegedly been open to interpretation.
There's also been some dispute over the way civilian casualties are counted. The CIA often counts able-bodied males, military-age males who are killed in strikes as militants unless they have concrete evidence to sort of prove them innocent.
Hold on. If it's assumed you're with the terrorists, if you're in the same vicinity and around the same age as them, then by that standard, as a British man in my 30s, whenever I go home to London, I'm a member of Coldplay. And that's offensive to me. That's offensive. I've not been in that band for years. We consciously uncoupled a long time ago. Perhaps the most incredible thing about our drone program, which again, a majority of us support, is not how little we know about who the government is killing, but how little they themselves seem to know.
NBC News has examined classified documents detailing 114 drone strikes. They also reveal what U.S. officials don't know, like how many killed. Between 7 and 10 in one strike, 20 to 22 in another. It suggests U.S. officials don't always know exactly how many or who they're killing.
That is a little disturbing. Because the question, how many people have you killed in drone strikes, is not one of those questions where it's OK to say, I don't know. It's not like asking someone who was the voice of Disney's Aladdin or what are Skittles made from. It's different. It's different than that. And the crazy thing is, it has literally always been like this. The very first CIA drone strike back in 2002 killed 3 men, reportedly because they thought one of them might have been bin Laden, in part, and this is true, due to his height. And under that rationale, it's kind of remarkable that we didn't take out Jeff Goldblum at some point over the years. Now, reports later indicated the victim was actually an innocent man who was collecting scrap metal. And look how the Pentagon immediately set the template for every discussion we've had about drone strikes since.
You said you don't know who was killed in this attack, whether it's civilians, Taliban, or...
No, I'm sorry.
We don't know exactly who it was.
We don't know the identities of the individuals involved.
But you're convinced they're Taliban?
We're convinced that... We're convinced it was an appropriate target. Based on the observation, based on the information, that it was an appropriate target. We do not know yet exactly who it was.
It's never a good idea to make a major decision about someone when you can't even say exactly who they are. Hey, guys, I got married last night. Oh, really? Who is he? I don't know exactly at this time, but I'm convinced he's an appropriate husband based on his height. And yet, we have consistently let the government get away with answers like that, because drone strikes are one of those things that it's really convenient not to think about that much. Like the daily life of a circus elephant or the fact that Beck is a Scientologist. You really don't want people reminding you about those kind of things. But if you happen to live underneath drones, not thinking about them is not an option. Having drones hovering above you is bound to mess with your head, especially because you might not even be able to see them.
Even though I know there's a predator directly overhead, I still can't hear a thing. And if you look up to the exact spot where we're being told the predator is flying right now, there's nothing but clouds and blue sky.
Congratulations, everyone. We did it. We managed to make one of the last remaining universal symbols of pleasantness, blue sky, completely fucking terrifying. We did it. Woo! And look, while we may not spend much time thinking about our drone strikes here, in countries like Pakistan, where they actually happen, they have to deal with them so much. There are even weird satirical cartoons featuring an American drone and his friend, a dengue fever-carrying mosquito.
अच्छा चल छोड़ इन बातों को ये बता तुझे पाकिस्तान कैसा लगता है कैसा लगता है अरे मैंने तो पूरा खानदान ही यहाँ बुलवा लिया है तो यहाँ की हुकूमत ने तुम्हारे खिलाफ कुछ किया अभी तक तो सिर्फ बयान दिया है मैं भी कई सालों से यही सुन रहा हूँ इसीलिए तो हम पाकिस्तान में मौज कर रहे हैं
To be fair, that would be a lot funnier if you spoke Urdu and lived in constant fear of being murdered by a drone. If you did, that's basically who's on first. In fact, drone strikes are such a routine feature of life in Pakistan. This is how news networks present statistics about them.
पाकिस्तानी हुकूमत की मर्जी से कर रहा है जवाब में 41% अफराद ने इस राय से इत्तेफाक किया और कहा कि अमेरिका
Drones have their own graphics package. You do not invest in top-quality graphics like those unless you know you're going to get a lot of use out of them. It's like Las Vegas local news having white tiger mauling graphics. They're going to get their money's worth. But to really understand the psychological impact of living underneath drones, listen to this Yemeni man, a man who loves America, addressing Congress last year, only a week after his village was struck by a drone.
I spent a year living with an American family and attended an American high school. That was one of the best years of my life. The friendships and values I experienced and described to the villagers helped them understand the America that I know and that I love. Now, however, when they think of America, they think of the terror they feel from the drones that hover over their heads, ready to fire missiles at any time. The drone strikes are the face of America to many Yemenis.
And that kind of makes sense. Because think about it this way. If there were Italian armed drones hanging over your head right now, it would probably affect the way you think about Italy. In word association, your first answer for Italy would not be lasagna, it would be spectre of imminent death, or more likely, spectre of the imminent death, followed by lasagna. But if you grow up underneath drones, it's going to affect the way you see the world. Listen to this 13-year-old Pakistani boy whose grandmother was killed in a drone strike.
I no longer love blue skies. In fact, I now prefer gray skies. The drones do not fly when the skies are gray, and for a short period of time, the mental tension and fear eases.
Look, it is completely natural for us not to want to think about the consequences of our drone program. But when children from other countries are telling us that we've made them fear the sky, it might be time to ask some hard questions. The problem is, after a week of looking at this, it seems there are shockingly few available answers. In fact, the best summation we could find of the framework we use to authorise and justify drone strikes is from this former Defence Department advisor.
Right now, we have the executive branch making a claim that it has the right to kill anyone, anywhere on Earth, at any time, for secret reasons based on secret evidence in a secret process undertaken by unidentified officials. That frightens me.
Yeah, it probably does frighten you, because what you just described sounds fucking terrifying. And look, any counter-terrorism effort will always require an element of secrecy. But with our drone program, not only do we not know who we've killed, the legal guidelines have loopholes large enough to drive a flying death robot through. And after a week spent trying to comprehend the rationales, legality and broader consequences of our drone policy, I am starting to understand how this guy feels. Exactly. And now this.
And now, Last Week Tonight asks, how is this still a thing? This week, Ayn Rand. How is she still a thing? 3 decades after her death, the writer Ayn Rand is still the subject of serious debate. And not just over how to pronounce her name.
Ayn Rand or Ayn Rand or however the moderns pronounce it.
Ayn Rand, not Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand, Ayn Rand. I'm told it's Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand became famous for her philosophy of objectivism, which is a nice way of saying being a selfish asshole.
Why is it good to want others to be happy? We can make others happy when and if those others mean something to you selfishly.
Rand illustrated her beliefs in novels like Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead, stories of rapey heroes complaining about how no one appreciates their true genius.
My work done my way. Nothing else matters to me.
And if that reminds you of anyone, it's probably someone like this.
Until I'm done with my Lamborghini entrance, no one's allowed it. Make sure they know that, because if they start letting it out, I'm going to start kissing. What about my entrance?
Ayn Rand has always been popular with teenagers, but she's something you're supposed to grow out of, like ska music or hand jobs. Curiously, though, Rand's popularity persists among a certain type of adult.
Mark Cuban, how many times have you read Fountainhead?
3 complete times. You know, it's funny because I'll pick it up when I need motivation, but then if I read too far, I get too much motivation and I get too jittery, so I have to put it down.
Yes, unbelievably, Mark Cuban's favorite book is about a misunderstood visionary who blows things up when he doesn't get his way. Cuban even named his 287-foot yacht Fountainhead, because sometimes having a 287-foot yacht just isn't enough to warn people you're a douchebag. And Rand's influence extends even further.
Ayn Rand, more than anyone else, did a fantastic job of explaining the morality of capitalism.
I am a big fan of Ayn Rand. I've read all of her novels.
Now let me encourage any of you who have not read Atlas Shrugged to go tomorrow, buy Atlas Shrugged and read it.
However, Ayn Rand is an unlikely hero for conservatives because she was also pro-choice.
A man who claims to defend rights and objects to the right to have abortion, that's not defender of rights.
And anti-God.
I am against God for the reason that I don't want to destroy reason.
No, not that one. The real God.
What do I think of President Reagan? The best answer to give would be, but I don't think of him. And the more I see, the less I think.
And in case that's making you start to fall for her, take a listen to her views on Native Americans.
I do not think that they have any right to live in a country merely because they were born here and acted and lived like savages.
Why would conservatives hold up as their idol someone who says things like that? Especially when there are so many other advocates for selfishness they could choose, like Donald Trump.
Part of the beauty of me is that I'm very rich.
Or Drake.
I'ma worry about me, give a fuck about you.
To basically anyone on Bravo.
I will kill you.
All of which is enough to make you wonder, Ayn Rand, how is she still a thing?
And finally tonight, Kansas. It's a land synonymous with me Googling Kansas 20 minutes ago to see if it's synonymous with anything. Turns out mainly wheat and tornadoes that blow away their wheat. Anyway, Kansas is in a bit of trouble these days, budget-wise.
The state of Kansas is broke, extremely broke. Job growth in Kansas lags behind the rest of the country. Moody's has downgraded the state's credit rating. And the state Supreme Court recently ruled that Kansas had been unconstitutionally underfunding its schools.
OK, that's horrible. Children in Kansas should not be deprived of a quality education because of budget shortfalls. They should be deprived because of the strict, unyielding religious beliefs of their school boards. That's the Kansas way. But luckily, the state of Kansas may actually have a little cash coming its way from an unexpected source.
The state of Kansas soon going to start profiting from porn. Yes!
Kansas porn. Finally, I've got so many ideas for the titles. Little Fuck House on the Prairie, Cornfield Cornholing, Cream of Wheat, or maybe you go the whole Wizard of Oz thing and swallow the yellow dick's load. Yes, I'm good at this. I'm good at this. Yeah. Just out of interest, how exactly is Kansas in the porn business?
Hundreds of adult toys are sitting in this Kansas City warehouse. They are up for auction online. The owner of a string of adult stores in that state didn't pay his taxes. He owes the state about $160,000. The state said he could still sell his merchandise to pay off his debt.
OK, so Kansas is only in the porn business because the owner of this chain of sex toy stores, the Bang chain, didn't pay his taxes. And I've got to say, even by sex toy store standards, that is one seedy-looking establishment. And also, there are some incredible bargains for sale at this auction, like this Icicles brand transparent penis, described as not just elegant, upscale and handcrafted, but also hand-blown, which is, incidentally, the single classiest euphemism I can possibly think of for masturbation. Or you could also get this pair of 50 Shades of Grey You Are Mine metal handcuffs, which you are frankly going to need to resuscitate your love life after the 50 Shades movie kills your sex drive. Jamie Dornan is not my Christian. Hashtag not my Christian. Now, in fact, if I may address our viewers in Kansas right now, there is only one problem with this auction, and that is that the current bids only total $38,000, and yet you are owed over $160,000 in taxes. So you need to start thinking about this like a charity auction and overpay for things that you clearly do not really need. And do not give me the whole, but John, I don't need a Dr. Laura Berman brand remote control panty pleaser. I already have 3. That's not the point, Kansas! You're not buying it for yourself, you're buying it to cover your state's gigantic projected budget shortfall. Bidding is open until Tuesday night at this website, Kansas. And you need to raise around $160,000, and crucially, absolutely no more than that, because any excess will unfortunately go straight back to the tax-delinquent owner of the sketchiest sex toy business on the planet. So let's do this, Kansas. I want you to go and comically overspend on this raging hard-on 18-inch double dong. And I want you to put this on your shelf, and I want you to look at it every day. And I want you to feel good about yourself when you do it, because you inadvertently just helped fund K-12 education all across the state. All across the state. In fact, every time someone comes over to your house, I want you to take this off the shelf and frantically wave it around and tell them what you did. Do it, Kansas, because while your state legislature has fucked you into this mess, this is your chance to go online and fuck yourselves out of it. That's our show. Have a great week. Join us again next Sunday. Good night.